All right. So I am here today with my dear friend, Gary Mallaber, who is in his Thousand Oaks home in California, just outside of Los Angeles. And Gary he launched into the music industry in a big way. He started with Van Morrison. They did 6 albums and then took the whole ride as a member of the Steve Miller Band, as a co-composer, drummer, backup singer, did everything. And Gary, welcome today. Welcome to Passionate Living. Now tell me, what when you took this wild ride and you went to Van Morrison and Steve Miller was 20 years for you.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But while with Steve Miller, I was doing records in between everything. Either Steve was,
That's what I was
make an album tour.
How many people have you played with? You've played with so many people.
Did one great album with Bonnie Raitt. Love Bonnie. We're still friends. I did part of an album called For Every Man with Jackson Browne and David Lindley. Great friends with Jackson from the beginning. Warren Zevon, all the Southern California troupe of guys, and everything that came off of that. Brewer and Shipley over at Capitol Records. Oh my God, it goes on. And then connected up while with Steve Miller. I connected. Prior to all that, I did a lot of work with Paul Williams. Paul wrote We've Only Just Begun and Rainy Days and Mondays. I did all of Paul's work really prior to being with Steve Miller. And a lot of that work I did with Paul. Paul was an absolute gentleman, and he worked hard, and he wrote and composed. And he said to the guys, look, if you get in the trenches with me and you go out there and you do my concerts, I'm going to put you on every project I do. And guess what? He kept his word. He did. Amazing. And that got me all that other work. And I wound up one week working with Paul when he was writing the music for the Muppet movies. Wow. And I was working in the studio with Jim Henson and Frank Oz. And we were doing that music. And then he wrote Rainbow Connection. And I played on that.
Oh, wow.
And I became the drummer for Animal in the Muppet movies. That's me.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. So you were Animal?
Yeah.
How,
Well, I was drumming.
That fits your personality too.
Well, I was drumming for Animal because he really couldn't play that well.
Right.
But we didn't let Frank Oz know that. As a matter of fact, at that time, Frank Oz was developing the voice for Yoda.
Oh, okay.
See?
Wow.
I've got a lot of these stories now. We're going to have to be careful.
What is one of your most cherished memories?
Oh my God. I got a bundle. I got a
one would be such a
challenge. Special recording days with Van Morrison in Manhattan, knocking out everything on Moondance. Then we did Tupelo Honey.
One of my favorite albums of all time, by the way.
See, and then we did Tupelo Honey, then we did St. Dominic's Preview, then he moved out to the West Coast, and I went out with him, and I lived in his garage up in Montana, up in Fairfax, and it was crazy, and it was nuts, and then I worked with Paul Williams in Hollywood with everybody over at A&M Records, met with Steve, worked with Steve in San Francisco, met all the bands in San Francisco. And of course, that guy by the name of Bill Graham, when he was running the Fillmore West and the Fillmore East, he happened to be managing this new upstart singer who happened to be Eddie Money. And he called, and before I knew it, I got a call from Bruce Botnick, who produced The Doors, and he said, look, they want to use the Steve Miller Band rhythm section for this Eddie Money. And that was something, because Bruce is a great producer, and the engineer was, I must mention, Andy Johns, who happened to be the engineer on some rock band by the name of Led Zeppelin. He was the guy that did that work.
Oh, those jumps. Yeah.
And I didn't worry. I said, I think I don't have to worry about my drum sound at all. So we went in and I knocked out over the years about 5 albums with Eddie. And the first one was the one that set his career. But as we went on down the road, the Steve Miller Band, the stuff that I did with Steve was, it was a glorious moment, because
the music was incredible. The music was just so unique. It was so different.
I got something
all
for
of
you.
the bands at the time.
I got something for you.
Here, what do you got?
Okay, here I come. I'm coming back.
Come back.
Okay. As I said before,
Huh?
going up there and working with Steve was a whole nother education because
Right.
at that time, Steve was on it. And he said, it's going to be you, me, and Lonnie. And Lonnie Turner eventually wrote Jungle Love, the song Jungle Love.
Oh, okay.
And we didn't know, but we were just about to commence on knocking out 2 albums which contained our career for 20 years. But we didn't know that was going to happen. They had all the hits. Keep on Rocking Me, Take the Money and Run, Wild Mountain Honey. Swingtown I invented when I was in marching band at the University of Buffalo. It wound up being Swingtown. It's a long story, connective tissue. And on, all these songs. And then eventually into the decade with Abracadabra. And I sent Steve all this material and he said, oh, that's really good. But the time with Steve in the studios and what we did and how we went about it, that was something to remember. It really was, because we were really, really going after something. Oh, wait, I got to go back to all of that time that was special.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I left. I got the call to work with that guy in Jersey, Mr. Springsteen.
Oh, yeah.
When you find yourself pretending, a rich man in a poor man's shirt. Now my ass was dragging from the past.
Oh my
Tell me about Bruce.
goodness.
I
What am I
love Bruce.
reading now?
Oh, the boss.
When Bruce was in the early 90s and mid 90s, he was in LA and East Street. I'm not going to talk about anything with East Street, but there was some change up. And my good friend drummer, who's no longer with us, Jeff Picaro, wound up working with Bruce on this album called Human Touch. And at the same time, he was writing another album because he's that prolific. He wrote this other album and they said, look, we want to do it different. We want you to come in. He knows your work. And would you play on this album? Come on and do it. So make a long story short, that became the album Lucky Town. And they released both Human Touch and Lucky Town at the same time. Back then.
Wow.
And then I went on to do the next album and I'm telling you, recording with Bruce with an artist like that, and you're listening to everything in the headset, you're just going, I'm not believing what's going on here, but this guy knows how to write. And
what is he like as a person? I always just imagine
he was, it was just a wonderful experience. It wasn't going to be anything other than that, I mean, I went in there and did my work. Then we did another album called The Ghost of Tom Joad, which was a lovely record that we put together.
Japanese DJs used to break records back in the day. Didn't you know Joey Reynolds?
Oh, absolutely. Joey Reynolds, Tom Shannon, Danny Nevereth. I'll name the radio stations. You ready? WKBW, WYSL, WNIA, WBOK.
Well, I happen to have somebody who just is zooming us. He's a little zoomer. Shall I admit him? It's a surprise guest. Hold on. Let's see if he shows up here. Oh my heavens. Would you look at this? We've got Joey Reynolds.
Hello,
Joseph. I have a fan.
Oh, yeah, what?
Fan.
What? In a ceiling fan.
A ceiling fan. That's the only fan I have left.
Hello, Joe. How are you, sir? Good to see you.
Oh, Gary is a very talented, wonderful young man who also had a great attitude, a great spirit. He was always upbeat. He was always positive. He never complained. He was not negative at all. And so he didn't belong in the music business.
Wait, Joe, that gave me the tools to take on the music business.
Now, this all began with Tommy Shannon and I owned a studio. We owned a recording studio on Allen Street. Well, on Franklin, actually, near Allen. And we had a studio together for a number of years. Tommy was on the air on WGR opposite me while I was on KB.
Right.
Also, but we were friends and we owned business together. Can you imagine that? To actually be competing with each other, yet be friends and be close like that. But you know, Tommy has surrounded himself with some really good production people, and I was a little bit zany. I love that word.
A little zany.
So we recorded Gary.
Yeah,
that's great. So you recorded at Joey's studio.
Yeah, I started recording. I was very young when I started recording, and I wanted to tell Joe it's been quite a ride, and it's an education every day of the year, and I'm still doing it. So
that's beautiful. Yeah,
Joey, I was going to tell Joe. Joe, I'm over 800 albums. I'm heading for 1,000, somewhere close to that. I can't believe
you have a big party when you hit 1,000. Is a party at Joey's house when you hit 1,000?
Party at Joey's house, and just yeah. we can go to Mother's on Virginia Street and have a late night dinner. That would be great.
Because they're always
That's great.
Late. Gary, thank you so much for sharing so many great stories with me today on the show. And Joey, thank you for Zoom bombing us and coming on and being a part of the show today. What a blast to have the two of you with me here on Passionate Living and to share your hearts with the viewers. It's so beautiful. Thanks, guys.
Anytime. Everything's great. Thank you.
Love you both. Mwah.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today on this magical ride into Passionate Living. Join us each week on Tuesday and Thursday evenings at 8 and Sunday mornings at 11. Plus, you can view segments of our show on YouTube at passionateliving.tv or on our website at passionateliving.com. Our goal in producing the show is to inspire you to live your dreams, as your journey will end up affecting the world around you in a powerful way. We hope you'll join us each week as we journey into the realms of passionate living. Until our next adventure, remember to take at least one baby step to bring you a little closer to living your dreams.